Alright, hey guys, I'm back. So, as promised, it's time for me to go through and answer some of these questions, or at least most of the questions that I've gotten since the last time I did a Q&A video. Yeah, here we go. Let's start with discounted autos. I want to go to Prime. I wish they would shorten the TNT period to like 1 month. That would have been nice. Not a huge fan of sleeping while the truck is moving. I wasn't either. Do you think if me and my trainer drive good mileage, I can get it done in about 2 months? What would the average mileage we could drive in a week combined, assuming dispatch is giving us loads consistently? I just want to be solo faster. 3 months sounds like a long time to be in one truck teaming. Could it be done in 2 months? Probably, if your trainer took absolutely no time off, which I believe somebody replied to your comment and said, Scrollex replied to your comment and said 3 months just to be safe because your trainer might take some time off. My trainer took time off while I was training, plus I took the week off for Thanksgiving. Could it be done in 2 months? Yes, I think me and my trainer, when we were out there, we averaged 4,000 to 5,000 miles a week, usually closer to the 5,000 mile a week range. Man, I need to eat, I'm shaking. So yeah, technically it could be done in 2 months, maybe even a month and a half, but yeah, 3 months is probably safer just because some weeks you can get shorter loads, shorter runs that aren't going to rake up the 5,000 miles, and then yeah, most trainers are going to want to take a little bit of time off and go home. And then yeah, sleeping in the truck is probably more nerve-wracking for the trainer than it is for the student because you're trusting a rookie to keep you safe while you're driving versus for when I was a student, I think it was a little more nerve-wracking sleeping in the truck because I was doing flatbed than it would be if you were doing tanker or reefer, just because the flatbed loads have a much higher chance of coming through the back of the truck and killing you if you hit the brakes a little bit too hard than the tanker or the reefer loads. So that was definitely a little more nerve-wracking, but I had a lot of faith in my trainer, so I did manage to get sleep and all that stuff. I had faith that he knew what he was doing, and, well, I'm alive. We didn't have any wrecks, so obviously I was right. He did know what he was doing. All right, Kurt Wall, do you mind if I ask for your educated opinion? Ooh, I'm educated. I'm retired Army, 33 years of service. Well, thank you for your service. Thank you very much for that. Keeping us free and making it so that we can keep this great country going. I have GI Bill entitlements. I was planning on going to Prime Inc., Salt Lake City for CDL training with a 9-month service contract once I get my CDL. An alternative option is to use the GI Bill to pay for a CDL school in my area and get my CDL through them. Then go to Prime Inc. and train with them on the road and eventually go solo as a company driver. I'm 55 and not really interested in lease right now. I probably wouldn't go back to lease either, looking at it now that I'm a company driver with Snyder. Lease right now, but not ruling it out after a few years of experience. I think Prime Inc. has a good training program. They really do. Prime Inc. has a great training program, so does Snyder. Not sure about the private school option other than the GI Bill would pay for it. My Army retirement pay is good, so money isn't an issue. I think either way would be a good choice. I mean, if you have the GI Bill to pay for the private CDL school and all that stuff, so it's not coming out of your pocket, then you can go over to Prime and do the on-the-road training with them. They'll have you do 40,000 miles of TNT versus the 30,000 miles of TNT, and I'm not sure whether or not they'll do a shorter 9-month service contract or what the contract would be for that, since I went in and got all my training with them. I think they do a 12-month service contract. They may have a shorter one for military. I'm not sure about that, and unfortunately I don't have a way to check anymore because I don't think HR is gonna answer my questions about that kind of stuff anymore. But yeah, I mean, I think either way is going to be a good way to go. Prime's training program, going straight through them to get your CDL and everything. Obviously, if you get it outside, you're not going to really owe them for the CDL training, so I guess the 12-month contract, I don't know about that. I don't know if they're still going to try to charge you something for the CDL training because they're sending you out with a trainer, or what they're going to do on that. That would be something really interesting to know. They are doing training in Salt Lake City now. I do know that. Company. But yeah, no, I mean, Prime is an absolutely great company to go through. That's why I went through them for the training and all that. And well, I did leave before the contract was up, and so now I'm gonna have to pay them back for the training. But Snyder's actually covering that because they have tuition reimbursement for a CDL school, and Prime is one of the CDL schools that they recognize. So they will pay back for the getting my CDL with Prime and leaving early. But yeah, I really can't blame you for not wanting to go lease right out of the bat. Maybe once you get a little more experience, you're more familiar with everything out on the road, and you can kind of see, here's what I'm running. Does it make sense to take a $1,000 plus a week truck payment and pay for your fuel and insurance and all that kind of stuff? The fact that you also have to get your own health insurance. You don't have company health insurance at that point. You have to go out and actually get your own health insurance. Does it make sense to have all those expenses and potentially have a little bit higher income, or does it make sense to just stick with the company and know exactly if I run this many miles, I'm going to make this much money, I'm not going to have to pay for fuel, I can use the company-backed health insurance, I can do all this. If the truck breaks down, it's not my responsibility to pay for it. Either the warranty is going to pay for it or Prime's going to pay to fix it. So I really can't blame you. If I went back, I would probably go back on the company side now that I've gotten out, and it's really nice driving around and not having to worry about all that kind of stuff anymore. Sea Otter, laugh out loud, plane ticket from Los Angeles area to Salt Lake City is cheaper than Greyhound. That is pretty funny. Also, congratulations on your new job. Thank you. That is pretty funny that a plane ticket's cheaper than Greyhound. I'd definitely take the plane ticket then, because, I mean, I flew from Atlanta to Springfield, and it was free. But yeah, I wouldn't have ridden Greyhound out there, and I definitely wouldn't ride Greyhound from Los Angeles to Salt Lake City. I've done that drive before from where was I? Long Beach up to Salt Lake City, and it's not the worst drive. It's a one-day drive, but yeah, I just have no desire to ride around on Greyhound. Sea Otter also, if you're a lease driver and need towing service, breakdown, accident, does the lease owner pay for the towing charges? Yes, the lease owner does pay for the towing charges. After the fact, Prime pays for them up front, so Prime gets their discounted rate on it, and then Prime charges you. You can get a receipt from the towing company to see what they charged Prime for it, and then Prime charges you that exact amount, and they just pull it directly out of your paycheck. So it comes out before taxes and all that kind of stuff. But yes, you will end up paying for it, but you'll pay for it at Prime's discounted rate. Craig James, thanks for the info, Cameron. Came across your videos recently as I was looking for info on Prime. Enjoyed your honesty. Thank you. After Prime, also planning on going with who your new company is, Snyder. As they have a lot of opportunities open in my area. Snyder's got opportunities open just about everywhere. You go on their website and you can find a job with them just about anywhere. I'll be eager to learn more about them as well through your experiences as I plan out my driving future. Well, yeah, there will be more videos. I've been doing it for about 2 weeks now, so the next video will probably be talking a little bit more about the running dedicated with them. Also, I think somebody asked me a question recently about how it's been going, so I'll talk about it a little later in this video. FYI, company reefers 44 cents a mile. This is from Scrollx. You can take a max 4 days off, although they aren't extremely strict on this. I will be with Prime a year, the end of October. I want company out of training so I can learn the ropes and be more efficient. If I stick with Prime at the end of my year, I'm considering lease. I may leave trucking altogether, though not sure. Do you think the amount you make as a lease driver is worth the cost associated with it? Looking back on it, probably not. If you're team driving as a lease driver, yes, the team lease drivers make a ton of friggin' money because whoever the lead seat is, whoever's name the truck leases in, or the company that's leasing the truck is in, makes a very, very large chunk of money because you run a ton of loads and then you decide what you're going to pay your co-driver. Obviously, you have to get your co-driver to agree to be paid that amount, but all the lease team drivers I saw made a ton more money than any of the company solo, the lease solo, or the company team drivers, just because at that point it does make a lot more sense to be the lease team lead seat. But no, solo, I wouldn't go back to being a lease driver. It was nice having the freedom. It was nice doing all that and saying that at 26, 27 years old I had my own business, but no, I probably wouldn't go back to it. Do you know what your yearly income is after taxes? Not yet. I have to, that'll probably be after tax season when I see exactly what I still owe the IRS and all that kind of stuff, what it will be, and I'll update y'all at that point most likely. Can you order a new truck for your first lease? No. No, you have to, I'm pretty sure they make you lease at least once before they let you custom order a truck. It may be different since you've been with them as company for a year, but I don't think so. I think they're going to have you go out in a truck. You may be able to get an older truck that has like a year left on the lease, a year less left on the lease, and then custom order a truck when you've got about 3 to 6 months left on it. That might be a loophole to kind of get around that, but I don't believe when you first come in for a lease, they're going to say, okay, yeah, let's custom order your truck first. It takes a few months, and they also want to make sure that you actually know what you're doing on the lease side before they special order a truck for you. Got a brand new full-size Freightliner out of training. Would hate to have to go with an older one with the lease. Yeah, I can imagine that going back. I mean, the day cab trucks I drive now are older trucks. They're the previous body style. They do have a couple of the new body style Freightliner day cabs, but the trucks I drive, I'm on a slip seat, so I end up in a different truck pretty much every day. But the trucks I drive are the older body style Freightliners, and they're good trucks. I mean, but yeah, if I was out there in a sleeper cab again, I'd want to get back into my my new generation full-size Freightliner. And leasing, you can still get a hold of one of those. You're just going to have to be patient and sit there and wait for one to actually become available. Somebody to turn one in, or just there to be, just to luck out and find one there, have one pop up while you're on the top of the list. Otherwise, if you turn down a truck, you get bumped back down the list again. So you could be sitting there waiting for a while, or you could get lucky like I did, and when you come up to the top of the list, there's a new body style one sitting there, and all of a sudden you claim that and make it yours. David Cod C82. I'm thinking about getting my Class A. Any suggestions? The way I would suggest doing it's the way I did it. Go through a trucking company. Prime or Snyder are the two I've obviously got experience with. Both of them have absolutely amazing training programs. They both do it properly, where they actually send you out on the road with live loads and a trainer and train you out there, so you actually get the real world experience versus the private trucking schools, from what I've seen, that send you out with an empty truck and maybe another student in the truck, and you just drive around their local area until you get enough skills to go and test for your CDL and do the basic CDL driver's test. I think going out and actually getting real world experience, where you're getting the skills you need for the CDL test, but you're also going to know you're also getting the training of what you're going to be doing afterwards with the CDL, what it's actually like to drive a fully loaded truck and go to the shippers and the receivers and see what the real backing situations and maneuvering situations of the truck are going to be like, versus just driving around the city and practicing with cones and everything like that to do backing and saying, here's exactly what you need to do to pass the backing test, here's what you need to do to pass the walk around of the truck, the pre-trip, here's what you need to do to pass the driving portion. Actually getting the real world experience and getting paid while you're doing it and not having to pay for the training as long as you stay for whatever their contractual period is, I think is definitely the best way to do it. If I had to go back and redo it again, that's exactly the way I would do it. I would go back and start with a company like Prime or Snyder, and go through their training program again. No question about it. That's the only way I would do it. TFM, True Form Motivations. Just subscribe. Good info on Prime. Question. You mentioned about emergency fund and then pulling certain things from that, like if you decide to go on vacation, etc. But then you said your check would be short. Can you use your emergency fund to pay your truck payment if your check is short, so that way you don't fall in the hole? Thanks again for the info. I don't know, because the few weeks that it was short where I actually ended up owing money, they didn't pull it from my emergency fund. They just pulled it from my following week's paycheck. Whenever I finally made enough money to pay it back, they just pull it from that. So, and I know there was always more than enough money in my emergency fund. When I left, I had $6,000 or $7,000, I think, sitting in my emergency fund that I got them to give back to me, preloaded on my Prime ID so that I could write com checks and deposit it into my bank account. That way it didn't get held for 45 days like my last paycheck. I still haven't got my last paycheck from Prime. Since I was a lease driver, they hold it for 45 days when you leave, just to make sure that everything on their side gets worked out or something. I'm not sure. But so I still haven't actually got my last paycheck, but I got my emergency fund back by getting them to put it on my Prime ID instead of putting it in my last paycheck, so that that money didn't get held up for 45 days too, because I needed that money. But I'm not sure if you could ask them to go ahead and just pull that from your emergency fund or not. Who's home? Tunde!
Cameron?
What's up?
Hey, someone got me up. I don't think it's me. Feels like books.
It's probably Nick's textbooks. I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. So yeah, I'm not sure if you could have them pull it from your emergency fund or not. That would be something that you would probably have to ask them once you got there. Steve McDuffie, congratulations on your career change and thanks for your videos. Very helpful in my decision to go to Prime. Well, thank you, and I'm glad that I could be helpful. Jason Crouch, did you say that even if you go company, you're responsible for $2,500 worth of equipment? I'm scheduled to report to Prime on the 24th of September, so that might be today. Is that today? No, that was yesterday. But that might change my mind. Oh, sorry, I guess I'm responding to this one a little late. Yes, even if you go company, you're responsible for purchasing your own equipment. It's Prime's way of making sure that you take good care of your equipment versus it being theirs and you not being responsible for it and it getting torn up quicker. So yes, you are still responsible for that $2,500, roughly $2,500 worth of equipment. Sorry, I responded the day after you started with Prime. That is if you actually did continue to go through with Prime. Alex Nagorny, I'm sorry if I just murdered your last name. Almost $1,000 a week for a truck payment, and 72% was the percentage I got of the load. You failed before you even started. Potentially, as I said, going team is definitely the better choice than going solo when it comes to leasing, and it was a little over $1,000 a week for the truck payment. So yeah, you are correct. I probably shouldn't have gone solo lease. Are there tax benefits to leasing, like are lease payments and equipment, fuel, etc. tax deductible? I don't know about tax deductible. They're all pulled from your check before the taxes are calculated on it, before your take home is done, so you're not paying taxes on the part of your income that's being used to pay for that. So I'm not quite sure. You probably have to ask the tax person about that, but I'm not positive about that. It's all pulled before they calculate taxes, though, so you're being taxed at a much lower amount than what you're truly bringing in before expenses and everything. Craig James, glad to hear about your opportunity at Snyder. Quick question, I'm considering Snyder as well, either dedicated or intermodal. What does your schedule typically look like as far as hours on, off, running dedicated? Just searching for as much info on Snyder drivers, or from Snyder drivers, to make an informed decision. Good luck. So far, my experience now that they've got me running full schedule, full runs. I run 3 runs a day between Atlanta and Lynette and Cottonton, Alabama. Typically, I mean, I start at noon. I usually get off somewhere between 11 and 1:30, so I'm working 11 to 13 and a half hours a day, 5 days a week, and then I'm off Mondays and Tuesdays. I like it. I don't mind it. It's nice being home every night. I think local dedicated intermodal does about the same thing. But yeah, so I mean, I work 60 to 70 hours a week, which is same as I was working out over the road, except I do it in 5 days now versus 7, and I get 48 hours, roughly 48 to 60 hours off between, and I get it if I get off at 1:30, so I'm having a 10-hour break between it, and I start my day 11 miles from my apartment, so it's not too bad. I definitely like it a lot better than over the road. And they treat me great so far. And then final one, Francis Thompson, a personal interest-bearing account makes you money. How does Prime holding drivers' money, example, emergency fund, tire fund, etc., really benefit a driver? They're not a bank. I guess, yeah, you're right. There's no interest accruing on it. The benefit is the tire fund is not optional. You have to participate in the tire fund. You don't have to participate in the emergency fund. It's not mandatory. But the tire fund is, because if you leave early like I did, you forfeit your tire fund. It goes to the next driver that gets in that truck. But it's nice to have that money there. That way, if you have a tire blowout or something, they can just pull it from that tire fund. And tire blowout on the tractor, you don't have to pay for the trailer tires unless you do something really stupid and they can prove it. Then they might charge you for the trailer tire. But for the most part, you're only going to be responsible if you have a tractor tire blowout, or when the tires get worn down, you have that money sitting there that they're going to use to replace those tires before they charge you. And then the emergency fund, I mean, could you set up a separate account and just have them pull from that and earn interest? Probably, but I think it's easier to. What's up, Tunde? You going swimming?
No.
I guess.
No, I don't know how to swim, so I can't go swimming.
All right, so I'm back again, but no, I think it's just more convenient having Prime. I think Prime holds the money that way. They can just easily pull it without having to go and try to pull it from your bank account and do all that kind of stuff. So they hold on to the emergency fund money. Optionally, if you choose to have them hold on to it, just so that when you're on vacation, they can pull it without the extra hassle of trying to go through your bank and all that kind of stuff. So while no, you're not earning interest doing it, it's also they're not charging you for holding your money either. So I don't know, it's up to you. As I said, emergency fund is optional. I chose to go ahead and do it at 10 cents per mile. You can do it up to 25 cents a mile or 1 cent a mile, whatever the heck you want to do with it, or if you don't want to. But tire fund, etc., everything else that they pull is required. The additional wear and tear, tire fund, all that kind of stuff is a requirement that you don't have the option to say, no, I don't want you to pull that. But, yeah, so that's all the questions I've gotten since the last time I did one of the Q&A videos. If you have any questions, as always, go ahead and post them in the comments of this video or any video. Always glad to have them. And until next time, next video will probably be talking a little bit more about doing the Snyder dedicated and all that kind of stuff. God, that smells good, Tuna. But yeah, until next time, y'all be safe out there. I hope to continue to meet some of y'all and talk to you soon.